Hey fam, so I decided to do a storytime vlog, and this is going to be my experience dating a professional athlete, or in my case, two professional athletes. I'm not going to tell you what sport they played. You may be able to figure it out by the end of the vlog, and I'm not going to tell you their names either for obvious reasons. But I can tell you my experience and the things that I've gone through, good and bad, with them. So the first question that a lot of people might ask is, how did you meet them? And it's pretty simple. Social media. The first guy that I dated, we were together for about 3.5 years. I started dating him when I was 23. He was definitely a lot older than me. How we met is like this. I had went to Miami to see my godbrother, and I met this girl when I was there. My godbrother had a roommate, and this girl was seeing, or this girl was talking to his roommate, and we really hit it off, and we hung out the entire weekend that I was there in Miami. And she was like, well, do you have a Twitter? And I was like, no. So she urged me to get a Twitter, so I did. She had a lot of followers, so she urged her followers to follow me, and some of her followers just so happened to be professional athletes. A couple of them followed me, and he DM'd me. He asked me if I had BBM, and if you can remember what BBM is, it's BlackBerry Messenger. So that's how long ago this was. We both had BBM Blackberries, and he asked me for my pen. I gave him my pen. Then we exchanged Skype names. I don't know if people even still really use Skype, but we exchanged Skype names, and then we used to Skype literally every day, talk every day, all day, either via Skype or texting or on the phone. Eventually he was like, I'm tired of Skyping you, I'm tired of texting you, you should just come see me. So 2 days later, he got me a ticket, and I came, a plane ticket, and I went to go visit him. I was initially supposed to stay there for like 3 or 4 days, but I didn't leave. I was there for about 2 weeks. Eventually, I was there all the time. I still consider Miami my second home because I was always there. I guess let me give you like a backstory. I was never a sports fan growing up, and when he started following me, he DM'd me and all this stuff, I knew that he was like an important person or whatever because he had a lot of followers, but I didn't know exactly who he was. He was a lot older than me, and I never knew who he was prior to meeting him. So everything in the beginning for me was just so new and exciting. It's like when you first meet someone, you're so intrigued and they can do no wrong, right? Now you have to mix this with me being super young and naive and getting to experience a lot of things I had never experienced before, getting to experience things that a lot of my friends never experienced before, like going on vacation not once a year but multiple times a year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, jewelry, clothes, my school being paid for. He didn't get me a car, but I had access to his car, so if I needed to go anywhere, I would just drive his car. And I'm 23, 24 years old driving this really expensive car, but none of my friends at the time, would ever experience anything like that. So of course, like, I felt special, and I couldn't really understand it because I never really thought of myself as being traditionally pretty. I never thought I was just beautiful. I knew that my personality, people really like me because of my personality, but if I were to say, I would never expect anyone to say, oh, she's beautiful and that's why I'm with her. I would never had self-confidence like that. So it was just really different for me. So the first couple months, everything was perfect. I think that both of us were giving each other our representatives. You know what I mean? You know how you're putting your best foot forward and you're trying to be perfect and you don't want them to see any bad side to you. I think that's where we were at on both of our sides in the beginning. It really was, to me, like like a fairy tale. I'll give you an example of that. One day, out of nowhere, I had 600 long stem roses sent to me. I had never had that happen to me before, and I just felt so special. Like, I couldn't believe it. This is like, wow, this is all for me? Like, seriously? This is for me? What? Thank you. Like, sometimes people will do something for you, and I think now, because they know that you're not used to it, now looking back, it could have been something that he was doing to impress me or to make me feel special, but it could have been something that he was doing as a calculation too. Also, another example is like on occasions he would tell me to, you know, pack my bag. We're going away for a couple days and not tell me where we're going, and then we would end up somewhere really nice. So a couple of times he actually did that too, and again, that was just something that I had never experienced before, so that just kind of sucks you in. Again, with me being so young, not having these things growing up, even though growing up I'd never wanted for anything, but I didn't have these type of things. So yeah, of course, it was like a whirlwind for me. So I would say about 6 months to a year after we met and after we started dating or whatever, I started to notice things. But I had already, I think, fallen in love with him. And I'm not even going to lie to you. Was he attractive? No. And I somehow became intrigued, and I really did love him. And I think some of that also was because of the things that he was giving me and providing me too. So I don't know if it was just, I don't know if I would have met him off the street. If I would have dated him, I probably wouldn't have. But because he did do things for me, it kind of helped me along to care about him at the same time. And a lot of people will not admit to something like that, but you're my family. I'm just gonna have to be real with you. If I met him off the street, I probably wouldn't have gave him the time of day. But to feel like, wow, someone in his statue really wants to talk to me and spend money on me and wants to take me places, that helped my feelings along for him. And he was sweet. He was sweet. So yeah. But anyways, not to go off topic, after 6 months to a year, of course, I noticed things were not right, but I would brush them off too. So one time, I would say a year and a half into our relationship, I had went home to Virginia to see my family, and I had came back, and I walked into the house, and there was female flip-flops by the door, because he didn't like people to wear shoes in his house. And I called and I'm like, you know, whose shoes are these by the door? I was really upset. And he said, oh, this is so-and-so's friend's shoes. And his friends used to come over often to stay for the weekend, and they would bring their girls or their side girls or whatnot and stay the weekend. So it made sense to me. So I just I apologized and I hung up the phone. But as I went to take my luggage back to our room, and I was unpacking, and I had to put my toiletries back into the bathroom. I put the toiletries on the sink, and I was like, wow, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I went to the toilet room, because it was a separate room inside the bathroom. I'm just, you know, doing my business, and I'm looking on my phone. I'm scrolling on my phone. You never do that when you're on the toilet. You're scrolling through your phone, and something told me to look to my side. And in the trash can was a used condom. And I'm like, oh my God. So I literally just spazzed out. And I called him, I was screaming. I'm like, what is this stuff? And I'm cursing, and it was just a bad situation. It was like my stomach dropped. Do you ever have that feeling in your stomach when your stomach just drops, your heart's beating really fast? And we argued about this situation for like days. But at the end of the day, I ended up staying, and I stayed, I think, because I cared about him, and also because I had low self-esteem, obviously, because I stayed, and because he was providing me with things to make me stay. You know what I mean? There was several incidences like that one, but I don't want to bash anyone. He was definitely good to me. He was good to my family. He did things for my family that I didn't ask him to do, and he did it out of the kindness of his heart or whatever. So was there a good person in him? Absolutely. I think that athletes have more opportunity to step out because there's always someone reaching out to them. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter. At any given time, he had 20 or 30, maybe 40 people in his DM asking him what's up. You know what I mean? So I'm competing with that. I'm only one person, and these are beautiful, beautiful girls younger than me, and I was 23 through 26 at the time, who are reaching out to him, who actually knew who he was, even though he was older. So, and when he went into the Hall of Fame, it didn't help it at all. It just got worse and worse and worse. So in that case, in that relationship, it was a string of incidences that had to do with fidelity. If I were to talk to anyone, it would have been crazy. I literally had to give up so much to be with him. I couldn't have guy friends. I couldn't hang out with some of my girlfriends because he thought that they were, you know, hoes and sluts or whatever. We had really, really, really bad arguments where he would get up in my face and we would just argue about things. He never put his hands on me though, but the verbal abuse was definitely real, and that was later on in our relationship. But do I think that he's a good person? Yeah, I just think everybody has their problems, and he had a lot of insecurity problems as well. So he was never able to be faithful. And as much as I tried to give him things to make him be faithful, or to give in to things that he wanted to make him not stray, it was never going to work. And as I got older, and as I was in that relationship longer and longer, I understood that. So I ended up leaving. It was a very hard decision for me to make, but it was a decision that I had to make for my sanity. We actually still talk on occasion now, and it goes back to him not being able to be faithful, because he still says that he cares about me, and he still tries to get me to go on vacations with him, even though he has a girlfriend now. And as I tell him, like, dude, we can be friends, but I would never disrespect another woman in her relationship, because I know how it felt for me. So I wish him all the luck in the world, and I wish her all the luck in the world too. So the second person that I dated, the second athlete that I dated, I had a very successful relationship with him. We were together for about 3.5 years as well. He was so sweet. Not that I know of, he didn't cheat on me. We met on social media. Initially, he started following me on Instagram, and then he followed me on Twitter. And then he sent me a message on Twitter, and we exchanged phone numbers, and we talked for about 2 weeks, and then he asked me to come see him. And I was really over it with the whole athlete thing. It had been a 1.5 years since I was previously with the other person, and I told him, I was like, I'm not really interested, and he was really persistent. So when I actually went to go meet him, I took one of my friends with me, and to have her like scope him out. And I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't really know too much about him either, but I knew of him because I knew of him. I can't tell you why, but he was just such a good person. He had children already, and he was such a good father. Even the mother of his children, who in the beginning didn't really like me, she was a really good mother to their children. I will say that they were both great parents or whatnot. We ended up dating for a certain amount of time, and the only thing that really hindered our relationship was the fact that it's very difficult for me to have children, and he wanted more children, and I couldn't give it to him. I couldn't give him a baby because when I was younger, I had cervical cancer, and the doctors just told me, you know, it's going to be really hard, and even with the in vitro and everything like that, it just wasn't working. So after a year of trying, I couldn't give him what he wanted, and it was breaking us both down, and it was hurting our relationship. And yeah, so we end up going our separate ways, but we are still really good friends now. I talk to him almost maybe once or twice a week. He ended up remarrying and had a daughter, and that relationship that really hurt me, because I couldn't give him what I was put here to do. I couldn't give him a child, but what can you do? In that relationship, I will say, that's why I always say, I tell my friends, because I still have friends in that lifestyle who are still with their athlete boyfriends or whatever. There are some good athletes out there who are very faithful and don't look at anyone else, and he always made me feel good about myself, even though I like I said in the earlier, I never thought of myself as being beautiful, but he always made me feel beautiful. You know what I mean? I think it's just an insecurity of mine. And he would tell me that, you are beautiful and you are caring and you're loving and all that stuff. I will admit that one time I did go through his phone and I found nothing. You know how you go through someone's phone and they don't know about it? Like he never, to this day, he doesn't know that I went through his phone and I didn't find anything. I went through his DMs. And there was one that he did respond to, and it says that I'm in a relationship with someone, and that made me feel so good. So I never felt like I had to worry about him or anything like that. So if you're out there and you're wanting to date an athlete, there are some good ones out there, but it's, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's rare. Will I date another athlete? I'm gonna say no. There's just too much out there for them to get into, and I don't want to have to worry. Even though I had one bad experience and one good experience, I just don't want to go through that again. You know what I mean? So yeah, the second story was pretty quick and to the point. It was. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.